Hello everyone, Shroomraver here, and today I'm excited to be bringing you my 5th game from the PIC off-season Monotype tournament thing. Yes indeed. Now, we managed to get through the last round against Nate and the Ice-type Dallas-Star Manatans fairly usefully. This time, we are up against Chelsealeo, the brilliantly named Chelsealeo, and Dan, aka Hawker, his links, I think he has them. If he does, down in the description below, make sure you check them out. As you can see, he is the electric type in this league. Much like Ice, I was okay with the matchup against electric. A lot of special bias, and I have a lot of bulk to bring against it. And Dan, he's had a pretty good season, you know. He didn't get off to the greatest of starts, big loss first game, but he's come back fairly well. Hasn't lost any games since then, including some pretty high profile wins, overcoming a not too great matchup against Steel in the last round, so he's nothing to mess with. And the team he can choose from, he had Mega Manectric, Zapdos, Thunderous Incarnate, Raikou, Electros, Stunfisk, Raichu, Rotomo, Lantern, and Electivire. So, a scary team. He managed to deal with the weakness to ground very well indeed, with 2 Levitators and 2 Flying types in there as well. So, yeah, he's built a decent enough squad there. But I felt okay going against this team, so let's get into the team I decided to bring. My main thing here was to try and start off with some setup power, then use my defensive setup bulk, and then come through with the Scarfer at the end if needs be. So, with that in mind, first up we have Diggersby, Focus Sash, enough speed to outspeed everything it needs at +2 because it has agility, and Swords Dance. It's a double dance set. Focus Sash, huge power. I can set up whichever one I deem necessary at the time, and just sweep through him with Earthquake and Return, which he doesn't really have anything for, that combination. Then we have the late game Scarfer, Tauros, Jimmy Bullard. Again, it's enough to outspeed everything that isn't Scarfed. Earthquake, Rock Slide, Rock Climb, and Toxic. Didn't need anything other than those 3 moves, so I just threw Toxic on there just in case there was sort of something bulky with setup, you know. Maybe like a Carmine Raikou, a Coiling Up Electros, you know, something of that ilk that was setting up and that, you know, I didn't want to deal with. Then we have sort of the really bulky stuff. We've got Snorlax here with the Choppleberry and Immunity, just in case he wants to try Toxic me. It doesn't matter if he does anyway, because I am a Rest Talk set with Curse and Return once more. This time I'm especially defensive. We have got Meloetta. Another defensive setup. We've got a fair amount of HP, a lot of defense in there, max with the bold nature, enough speed on there to outspeed, I think, what am I outspeeding? I'm outspeeding something at sort of middling-ish speed. It might be the Rotomo or the Lantern. I think I was outspeeding max speed Lantern. Hyper Voice, Energy Ball, Calm Mind, and Resto Chesto on there. Again, he doesn't have any resistances to normal. This is a very powerful normal type hit. Energy Ball is there mainly just, you know, deal with the Lantern or the Stunfisk if they're particularly bulky, and they're annoying me. Then we have Sharduck, the Shardy named Sharduck, P2, Eviolite, or Eviolite, whatever. Mixed defensive, mostly specially defensive, with max HP as well. Tri-Attack, Sub, Toxic, Recover, very standard stuff. Again, no resistance to normal, I can just run Mono Tri-Attack. And once again, Sub, Toxic, Store with Recover is the way to go with P2 in this kind of league, it would seem. Finally, we have Mega-Audino Shardino. It's an Audino set that I've loved using in terms of max HP, max defense, Calm Mind, Wish Heal Bell, and Hyper Voice this time. Didn't want to run Fairy Stab because Hyper Voice hits just that bit harder, and once again, no resistances to normal. So we've got a gross team here, lots of defensive setup, a offensive setup sweeper, and then a late game cleaner in Thorn Scarf Tauros. I felt pretty confident. The team that Dan decided to bring, Rotomo, Electros, the Thunderous, Electivire, Zapdos, and Raikou. So, he's brought all of his ground immunities, which is fine. I feel like I have ways of dealing with them. And yeah, my plan actually slightly changed. I was originally just going to lead straight up with Diggersby, but I didn't want to risk the Rotom lead, which I'd probably lose that matchup in any case. In fact, I almost definitely would. So I decided to change my plan slightly at the last minute and not lead with Diggersby. So without further ado, let's get right into the battle and see exactly how things played out. So, as you can see, I decided instead to lead with P2, which is my standard kind of lead in this format. in comes the Raikou. I trace pressure, which is nice. Now, I don't go for the Toxic straight off the bat, nor do I go for the sub. He's going to go for the Aura Sphere, not do too much because I'm very specially defensive, show Life Orb. I went for Tri-Attack here, and I get a crit. Reason I went for Tri-Attack, I didn't want him to be getting away with sub-Calm Mind shenanigans, I just wanted to break us up if he had it. Turns out he doesn't, he goes for Discharge and does get the Para, but at this point I'm happy to start Life Orb stalling him, so I'm just going to go for the Recover, get myself back to a really nice range of health. Which is grand. He's going to go for Aura Sphere here, he is going to get the crit, but I got a crit first turn, so it all balances out fairly nicely. At this point I am going to drop a Toxic on him. Not anticipating the crit, but as long as he doesn't crit me again, I can just recover up and hopefully not get parried. And as you're going to see, that's exactly what's going to happen. Although it isn't, because he's actually going to go for Reflect, expecting me to try and kill, I guess. But I do go for the Recover. Reflect I was not expecting, but it's a nice little touch on the Raikou. He doesn't quite go down to Toxic, which means I'm going to try and break through Para again to recover. He's going to go for Aura Sphere. He's going to go down to the Toxic, to the Life Orb actually, which is fine. He's going to go down, I break through the Para, as you can see here, getting ahead, but I do go for Recover. And Shardock gets out of this exchange at full health, which is nice. Now, in comes the Rotom. I see the trick coming a mile away and I'm not happy with it, so gonna get out of there, don't want to lose my Eviolite, so I go into my Mega-Audino, predicting the trick to come in my way, and what do you know, there's the trick. So now we're looking good, he's obviously choiced, and he's gonna have to switch out, which he does. He's gonna switch out and go into his Thundurus, and as you'll see, I'm gonna Mega up here, and I'm just gonna start setting up. I'm just gonna go for a nice, beautiful Calm Mind, and now I really don't fear this thing too much. He is going to drop a Toxic on me right about now, which is fine, I have Heal Bell. I went for Hyper Voice in case he wanted to try and taunt, but he doesn't. He's just going to Toxic me and that's absolutely fine. I don't fear this thing too much, I feel like if he had Sludge Wave he'd have gone for it by now. Looks like he doesn't, he's going to switch on out of there, go into his Electros. At this point I am going to go for the Heal Bell, so now my Poison is gone, I'm not on a timer, and if I need to bring Shardock back in it's not paralysed, which is grand. I'm going to go for the Wish here, just to scout out what this Electros is going to do. He goes for Gastro Acid, which was strange. I can only imagine he wanted Acid Spray, but he might have misclicked on it. Either way, he's going to switch out. He doesn't want to stay in here. He's going to go into the Electivire, and I'm going to go for Calm Mind. Now, I'm aware that I can take an Iron Tail from this guy. I get my Wish back to full, which doesn't really matter. And I am just going to start attacking here, I think. So he's going to go for the World Charge. He gets a crit, but it really doesn't do too much. And he shows himself to be not Life Orb, he gets Recall. I go for Hyper Voice, it does big damage, and Audino is proving to be a problem for Dan to deal with. He goes for a Wild Charge again, takes the more Recall, and here I'm just going to go for the Wish. No reason not to do this at this point. He goes for a final Wild Charge, it doesn't KO, and he doesn't quite go down to the Recall. I should have gone for Hyper Voice here, I in fact go for a third Calm Mind. If I'd have gone for Hyper Voice, I would have been back to a nice range and he'd have been gone. As it is, I am going to have to try and tank yet another hit. He goes for Wild Charge, it does 26, he goes down to his own Recall damage, which is fine. I'm just going to set up the Wish, again no reason not to, hoping I can tank any hit. All the rest of his stuff, apart from Electros, looks to be special. So in comes the Rotom Mow. Can I tank a Leaf Storm is the question. Yes I can absolutely tank that hit. With a little bit of health left, I'm going to go for the Hyper Voice. It's going to do a massive amount of damage to Rotom Lamo, good nickname. And I get my Wish back, and Audino is just sitting here, and Dan has nothing for this at this point. He does switch out. He's going to go into his Thundurus, as I just go for the Wish once again. At this point, all he can try and do is keep paralysing me. So he goes for the Discharge, looking for that paralysis, which unfortunately for him, he isn't going to get. And I'm just going to go for Hyper Voice. That will take down the Thundurus. Down it goes, as you'll see. And I think at this point I just get my Wish back. Yeah, Audino back to nearly full health, and there is really nothing that Dan can do at this point. He's going to go into the Rotom, and as you can see, he's going to go for the Discharge again. He's going to try and get these Paras. Unfortunately, they're not going to come his way. I'm going to go for Hyper Voice. That takes out the Rotom. Down it goes. Another kill notched for Mega-Audino. And now it's 6 versus 2, in comes the Electros. I do outspeed this, I'm going to go for the Hyper Voice. He's not Assault Vest, it does big damage. And he's going to go for Coil, I guess. Maybe he was hoping he could take 2 of these hits. Maybe he just wanted to show he had it. So interesting set, you know, Coil is fairly spooky on Electros, but I do outspeed, I do 2-hit KO with the Hyper Voice. Down goes the Electros, and now all he has left is this Zapdos. Now Zapdos will take a Hyper Voice, especially if it's invested in any way in HP or special defense. But he certainly won't take 2. He's going to go for the Thunderbolt. He's not going to get the power. It's going to do no damage. Hyper Voice comes in. Well, that's going to do 62%, a clean 2-hit KO, even with the following Leftovers recovery. The last gasp Thunderbolt from Dan is going to, again, do no damage. It's not going to score a para. I'm going to go for Hyper Voice. Down goes the Zapdos, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be the game. So, yeah, that was a good game for us. We do take a 6-0, which was nice. And we do manage to beat Alex. It was a good game on my behalf, you know, just showing what the defensive stuff can do. When I drafted this team, a lot of people looked at my Mega Choice and Mega-Audino and went, whoa, what are you doing? Why didn't you take Mega-Lopunny? And I don't want to bash on those guys because that's a fair assessment. Mega-Lopunny is a massive threat in draft kind of format, especially in a kind of format where you're not necessarily going to have a load of resistances that you can count on. So yeah, it's a fair assessment to say, why didn't you take Mega-Lopunny? This is why I didn't take Mega-Lopunny. Because as offensive a threat as Mega-Lopunny can be, this is the kind of stuff Mega-Audino can do. It will just set up, if it gets the chance to set up, it becomes very, very difficult to take down. Which is pretty much just shown here. It came in after the Raikou went down, and that was pretty much all she wrote. I got the chance to set up, could keep myself healthy. Heal Bell was a good decision, I think, at the end. You know, I was tempted to put on, what was I tempted to put on? Not Heal Bell, basically. Protect, I think I was tempted to put on. I'm glad I put Heal Bell on in the end, because, you know, that enables me to get rid of the Toxic that was onto me. And, yeah, we were just in a really good position from the get-go. So really, only my 2 Shardy nicknamed Pokemon coming out onto the field, which, I'm sure that'll give him an ego boost if he watches this. You better watch this, Shardy. So, yeah. That's a good game for us. Unfortunate for Dan, he just didn't have anything to do with Mega-Audino in the end. And that's what an unchecked Mega-Audino can do. So, what does this mean? What it means is that we're basically 4-1. We have a very, very, very healthy differential, which I can't remember off the top of my head. It'll be on your screen. And that does lead us into the semi-finals of this tournament. And that is going to be a game against either Togue, and the Flying type, or my good friend Jack, E-Storm, and the Psychic type. Now, spoiler alert, that game has happened between those two. I know who I'm facing, so if you don't want spoilers, look away now and I'll do my waving signal when it's safe to talk. So I'm going to start talking about who I'm facing next time, now. I'm going to be facing off against Togue and the Flying type. Now, I'm okay with this, to be fair. Both Flying and Psychic, they have their pros and cons. You know, I didn't particularly want to go against Psychic because Jack does have Mega Medicham, which wrecks my team completely. I don't really have anything for it other than maybe this Mega-Audino. On the other hand, you know, the Flying type, he has some stuff that really, really does hurt me. His Staraptor is going to be more important than my Staraptor, I think, in that game, whichever one of us might or might not bring it. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. I'm looking forward to it. The team building continues. So, we're good talking about that. Yeah, on to the semi-finals, I guess. Whoever it's against, it'll be a good game. So, look forward to that going up, hopefully soon. I don't know how often these are actually going to go up. There's only a few more games of this tournament left. We're going to try and get them done. But, of course, the PPL, that's restarting next week. Early next week. So that's something to look forward to. Going to try and hopefully get these games maybe out of the way before that if we can. If not, we'll fit them in when and where. Similar kind of thing with CCL. I know we're desperately trying to revive that and get those games done. But with the PPL coming around, that's going to be difficult as well. But we'll see what we can do. But yeah, that's all the story for another day. We managed to get through the semis. Onward, Parasect Germain. Let's see if we can take this tournament. But I'm getting out of here. I've rambled on for long enough. So my final thank you to you all for watching. Do hope you've enjoyed, and I guess with that, I'll see you next time. Laters.